Hello, glad to have you back. You're still watching Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I am Ndi Amugo. The federal government is meeting with the leadership of the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers. Well, the meeting at the Ministry of Labour, Employment and Productivity is aimed at stopping the nationwide industrial strike before it inflicts significant damage on the economy. Well, NUPENG has accused Dangote of pursuing crude and dangerous anti-union practices and indecent industrial relations strategies. It says the refinery pays some of the lowest wages in the sector and bars drivers for imported CNG trucks from joining industry unions. The Trade Union Congress, TUC, says it will stand in solidarity with NUPENG. The Congress has also rejected the federal government's planned 5% tax on petroleum products with a warning that it will resist the policy. Well, the union's leadership warns that it will resort to the option of a nationwide strike if the federal government goes ahead to implement the policy. Well, joining me now is oil and gas consultant Olabode. Sowunmi. Olabode, glad to have you join me.
Good evening.
On Arise Prime Time. Yes, just like you heard there, the NSC president saying that Joe Ajero alleging that Dangote Group's labor practices are crude and dangerous. He claims workers in Dangote cement, sugar, flour companies suffer the same.
Okay, so I'm not privy. I mean, first of all, I'm a consultant.
Yeah.
My job is to analyze the issues, and then people can come up with their own conclusions when they see the facts of the matter. Yeah. Because ideally, each person should make his own decision. So when you bring analysis, facts, best practices before a management or a company, the idea is that you break it down for them to decide what is in their own best interest. Yeah. So I'm not privy to the details of the agreement and the contract terms with which the employers of Dangote companies work with. But the information out there is that they don't exactly pay high. Yeah. Which may be true, which may not be true, but whichever way, there are people within his employment, and none of them is being held at gunpoint to be there. However, under the fundamental human rights is the right to freedom of association.
Correct.
Which is the basis for which company employees can join unions. So by denying them, which is what is in the news, which is what we're talking, by denying them access to unions, is violating their fundamental human rights, which ideally it should be taken to court for. But because of the culture of our operation here, so this is not a cultural thing. I've lived in Sweden, I've lived in New York. Over there, the culture of operation is different. The same people, the same issues, but the way they go about things is different. So here, there's a tendency culturally to go confrontational, to do strikes rather than engaging the legal system. Because even if the Nigerian law supports it, the fact that it is under the Charter of the Fundamental Human Rights, and Nigeria is a signatory to it, everybody in the United Nations is signatory to the Fundamental Human Rights, they cannot win it. So it will actually be a case asking the court for an enforcement
of fundamental rights.
Of fundamental rights.
Now, the NRC is also faulting the company's preference for foreign hires, recalling past cases where welders, fitters were brought in from India despite the availability of qualified Nigerians here. It said such practices amount to exploitation and contradict the promises of industrialization and job creation in the refinery. For example, what's it called? Dangote is importing compressed natural gas, trucks, and saying he will employ drivers and they cannot unionize.
So that is strange. I mean, for an industry as exposed as the oil and gas industry. But I think there are legal avenues that people should engage in. The fact that he is the employer does not mean he has absolute rights. He has a lot of rights. He can hire and fire, but he does not have the right to break people's fundamental human rights. Nobody has that right. Not even the president of the nation has that right on anybody to break their fundamental. That's why they are called fundamental human rights. In fact, the fundamental human rights, the origin of the fundamental human rights is as a result of the sufferings of the Jews under the Nazi government during the Holocaust. That's the origin of those fundamental human rights. So there are some things that maybe his lawyers need to advise him and a couple of people need to advise him. This industry is a bit more exposed and there are certain factors, by and large, if all these things they're saying is true, he's going to get attention, more attention.
So what do you make of government's call now on, as we speak now? I am aware that Port Harcourt depot, NATO, NUPENG, they have down tools. Delta the same, they're not loading trucks. People will ask NUPENG and these associations, have they thought about what what this will do to the economy?
Okay, so let's look at the fundamentals.
Okay.
If a house has structural defect, you want to look at the foundation, not just the fact that this plank is causing water to come out. There are some of them. As at 1976, we came up with the Enterprise Decree, which was the Muritala Obasanjo government, which today people refer to as the Indigenization Decree. And that decree was targeted more than anywhere else to the oil and gas industry. The purpose was for that Nigerians have equitable ownership and equitable access to the oil and gas industry. And that was when the likes of BP became African Petroleum and all that and all that. And more than anywhere else after that, go to everywhere, you will realize that you will realize very strongly that Nigerians have wealth in the industry. By wealth, we're talking about ownership as different from employment.
Okay.
So that has now transferred in the 90s to the midstream and upstream sector. As of today, there are a lot of Nigerians that have wells, that do services in those wells, not just in Nigeria. They do it in Angola, they do it in Qatar, they do it in the US. Those are the products of the indigenization there. So what the fight here is that they are seeing a threat to their ownership access. So this is not about employment. This is about ownership and access, which will now speak to a defeat of the original 1976 decree.
Who is saying a threat to ownership access?
Basically the structure with which the Dangote refinery is operating in a way to monopolize. That access and that structure is against the PIA. So for example, Section 212 of the PIA says that you cannot have differential treatment of stakeholders and Dangote, I'm not sure, I don't know, I've not seen it, but is reputed to treat different customers differently. Give a particular price to some people and give a different price to some. That is what they say. If that is true, that is against the law.
To give different price to different people?
Yes.
Isn't it his business? Can't his,
No, your business operates under the law. So look at it. Why is there a regulator?
Yeah.
Why do they regulate prices?
To regulate
exactly
practices.
So those things, there's a law that under which every business must operate. It is not the Wild Wild West. It is not a case where it is free market, but it is free within the law. So there are various aspects of the law that are there. And there is a reason. There's historical reasons why monopolies are found at all over the world. The first multinational in the world was Standard Oil, the American conglomerate. And in 1911, the US Supreme Court issued a passed a judgment that broke it down into 11 companies. 90% of those companies are still in existence.
Because of the dangers of monopoly.
Because of the future of the industry, which is one of the dangers of monopoly. Because one of the things that monopoly kills the ability for people to be creative. If you don't have any competition, you have no business to be thinking.
You can go to sleep.
Exactly.
Or you do what you want.
Yes. Monopoly kills people, so there won't be new ideas, there won't be new wealth created. I mean, the companies that were broken down are still in existence.
Till today.
Chevron, ExxonMobil.
Oh, from the Standard Oil?
Yes, Chevron, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, the whole American arm of BP, and all that. Now imagine all of those companies as one company.
Under Standard Oil?
Under Standard Oil. Companies like Olabode will not exist. Which are companies that provide unique solutions to the development of the industry.
What do you make of the federal government trying to intervene? Is that right? How should they go about it?
No, that's the only thing, because institutions are primarily weak. You see, at the moment, the laws exist.
Yeah.
The regulations within FCCPC says that you cannot have a player who has more than 40%. In this case, he has 90%. So there are issues that the laws, adherence to the law cannot be simply.
So if the law says he can only have more than 40%, how come he's having 90?
Above my pay grade, sir. So what I'm saying is that there are people who need to address these things.
Who?
You have the government, because you see, this solution has three parts. There is the economics of it, for the whole interest of the nation. There is the social political, because they say it's significantly political. There's the social political, because one of the responsibilities of governance and of government is equitable distribution of wealth. You can't just have such a huge mass of people's wealth taken away in the name of business practice. Societies don't survive like that. There's a reason why the Roman Empire fell. There's a reason why the Greeks.
For you as a consultant, what should happen now? What really? Because we're talking about eventually when there's a strike, everybody suffers. The economy suffers, people suffer, what have you. So the way it is now, for you as a consultant, what should be the way out?
They need a political solution in the short term. They need a business solution in the mid-term. They need a legal solution in the long term. You see, all this talk still needs to be interpreted by the court.
But nobody seems to be going to the court.
Because, like I said, our culture does not look at we don't have a culture that
going to the
seeks
court.
Legal addresses to. I mean, you tell the average person who's being cheated and all that, why did you go to court? He's predetermined. But it is in the same Nigeria where a sitting governor was taken to court and was removed. So it is about people's mindset.
Yeah.
It's not really, I mean, the court probably has its own issues. I don't deny that, and I'm not naive enough to say they don't.
We should begin to
But the system needs to be continuously engaged for it to improve.
That attitude to
so
go to court.
There is the political solution.
We'll leave it
which,
there. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll leave it there. Political, legal, short, and all that.
So political, economic, legal.
Legal. Thank you so much, Olabode Sowunmi, oil and gas consultant. We hope they come to a solution, that solution.